You know, I'm Ted Rall. You're watching Deprogram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou, and we are here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's 5 p.m. Eastern Time right now, which is why we're here. It's Thursday, September 18th, 2025. John, always good to see you.
Good to see you, Ted.
So we're both from our secret, undisclosed locations. If we revealed it, we might be treated like a Venezuelan boat. And so I'm not into that at all. Or we might be treated like Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh my God, I'm so mad about that. We'll talk about that today.
We will talk about that. So what should we get into? Well, I'll sort of go through the main things we've got going on. But as always, if you're in the Rumble or in the YouTube chat, always love your questions. We're always amazed at how they just keep getting better and better, and they're
really
great.
Smart questions. Yes.
I mean, seriously, best place I've ever been for questions. All right, so Jimmy Kimmel, we all know what happened there. We'll be talking about that. The Democrats have proposed legislation, which would be like a shield act for people like Jimmy Kimmel, but obviously it's not going to go anywhere with the current configuration of Congress. I'm super interested in the story out of Afghanistan, John. Bagram Air Base is north of Kabul. It goes back to the Soviet times. Donald Trump was very, very sad to lose that base when the U.S. withdrew in 2021. And now apparently he's been negotiating with the Taliban government of Afghanistan to try to get it back. I really want to try to figure out what exactly this means. Could we see something as significant as normalization of relations, or is it more likely something in between? But then also
exactly what it is. Yeah,
France is in chaos. It had been predicted. Unlike us, who we don't like to take a day off from work for our protests. They do it right on Hump Day. So all day yesterday and going into today, mass arrests. All the pharmacies are closed. All the trains aren't running. The airports are shut down. Nothing's moving. No one's going anywhere. France is closed. But I guess they'll get back to work tomorrow, maybe in time for the weekend. Anyway, what do you want to do first?
I know it's not the top story, but it feels like it is for me. Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
I used to be a loyal, faithful, every night viewer of Johnny Carson. And my loyalty remained through Jay Leno. I don't so much like, what's his name from Saturday Night Live, but I love Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's hilarious. I think that it's sophisticated comedy, it's smart comedy, but it's comedy. It's just a joke. And to have Donald Trump sort of under his breath threaten ABC's broadcasting license because Jimmy Kimmel jokes about him is fascism. I mean, there's no other word to describe it but fascism. So they just said he's suspended indefinitely. They didn't say that the show is canceled. It very well may be canceled. But it just goes to show you how afraid these big corporations are of Donald Trump, whether they're afraid of being sued for defamation or they're afraid of these regulatory moves. I'm very disturbed by this. It bothers me very, very much.
It does for me too. I mean, look, we know that money was involved here. This is the second time at least the second time we've seen something like this. Stephen Colbert's employer, Steve, has a pending merger in front of the Trump administration, and he's made it very clear that it would be really sad to see their big merger go to hell unless something would happen to Colbert. And then got basically, he got a 1-year reprieve. He got a 1-year notice, but he's gone. And then there's Kimmel's situation, which is also very disturbing as well. He was same thing. They have a merger pending in front of the administration. The administration's made very clear. I mean, what was really disturbing to me was how specific the FCC was in its threat. The FCC chairman issued a statement basically saying, what we really want here is for the distribution companies to stop, Sinclair Media, to stop receiving Kimmel And then the parent company will, ABC will do what's obvious, and they'll fire him, and it's kind of like, that's exactly how it went down. It's really chilling. Then you have the president of the United States issuing a statement that says, I really hope this was all me. He knows it was 99% all him. And the thing is, Kimmel's comment, which it's not very long. He basically, it's kind of a convoluted statement, but basically he's saying that the Trump White House and MAGA world was trying to make political hay out of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Well, that's undeniably true.
Yeah, of course they are.
And it's a bad look. But also he said, well, they want to make sure that that everyone knows that the shooter was not one of theirs. So, okay, I mean, the implication is that the shooter was one of theirs, and to be clear, there's zip evidence that that's the case. But it's not really the same thing as saying linguistically it was one of theirs, right? Jimmy Kimmel's accusing MAGA world of just sort of bending over backwards to say he's not one of ours. So he didn't say anything inaccurate, and he said something clumsy and maybe a little bit unclear, convoluted. But even if he had said something that was completely just mistaken, right. So what? It's late night comedy television. Yeah. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel. I never watch these shows. I don't like the format. I don't really like much stand-up comedy. I don't care. But I mean, it's not like a personal thing for me. But also what I don't like is these two companies who, they look to me like they wanted to end these shows anyway, because the ratings aren't so great. People don't stay up as late as they used to before COVID. Yeah. And the rating and they're just sort of looking for an excuse. And it's like, oh, we can curry favor with the president and his people and get rid of this expensive contract that we were like upset about still having to pay out on. So it's really corporate sleaze. For me, the companies involved are disgusting.
Yep. I'm glad you said it, because if that's the case, and it very well may be the case that they're just tired of paying Jimmy Kimmel his gigantic salary, just be honest. Just say, look, the ratings aren't there. We don't think he's very funny. He doesn't stand up in terms of the numbers to the other late night comedians. We're going to move on and do something else. But I think you're right that what they're actually doing is trying to curry favor with Donald Trump. Hey, and as an aside, one of our viewers and a friend of mine, Nick Guerin, he sent me some pictures of golden statues that have appeared around the Capitol today. Golden statues of Donald Trump. I thought it was...
Oh, that's awesome.
I asked him if it was from The Onion. He said, no, they're actually there on the Capitol grounds.
Are these, I wonder if this is related to, how there's those weird brushed steel monoliths that appear in the middle, I guess in the desert in places like Nevada and Utah. So
and nobody will claim them.
There was also, I remember years ago, someone in a Brooklyn park put up a statue of Edward Snowden as a free speech person. I thought they should have left it there. I mean, my only beef is that's how I would prefer it in Central Park, where I could see it when I go biking, but put some flowers there. But I mean, I love this. I wonder, it'd be great if the statues were super, super heavy, so that it's really hard for them to move them and get rid of them.
Right. That would be funny.
Or glue them, or somehow affix them, concrete them, or put them in some really awkward place, like a freeway, like underneath a freeway overpass, where it's like, oh my God, how are we going to get this thing down?
Yeah, I agree.
Trump might like them though. Trump might say leave them.
Yeah, I think he would very much like him. He does weird stuff like that. Have you ever seen the Trump golf course out in Leesburg, Virginia? It's about 25 miles west of Washington. No. It's on a bluff overlooking the Potomac River, and there's a flag that's flying there, and there's a historical marker at the base of the flag, and it talks about this being the site of the Battle of the Potomac. which was one of the most important battles of the Civil War. It's what turned the course of the war away from the South and in favor of the North. There's no such thing as the Battle of the Potomac. It's
Really?
completely made up. There was no battle there where the Trump golf course was. The historical marker was not written by historians, and it was not approved by the state of Virginia's state historian. It's just made up, and it was privately made. Trump had somebody make it and place it there, but it's completely and totally false.
That's so bizarre.
But it's very much in keeping with his personality, don't you think?
Oh, it totally is. I mean, I guess he just wanted some mythology, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
that's what this is about. He likes it's like, well, we're in Virginia. Virginia is historical. There could have been a battle here. There have been battles in Virginia.
Half of all the Civil War's battles were fought in Virginia. So why not? I find bullets all the time. I must have 100 of them, maybe more than 100 Civil War
Really?
bullets. Yeah, you find them all over the place. They're like
the big white ones.
They're about the size of the last part of your index finger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the ones I've seen were a little bigger than that, like from Gettysburg.
3 grooves around, or like from the Union, and 2 grooves are from the South.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You could apparently. Some people said you could see them coming.
Oh my goodness.
Because they were big. They were big and fat, and they didn't go that fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think you could get out of the way, but it's just sort of like
you're saying, oh crap, this one's gonna hit me.
Oh God, can you imagine getting? I'd much rather take a 22 anywhere in my body than catch one of those fucking little micro cannonballs.
Oh, although, just as an aside, I was in prison for about a year when Whitey Bulger was caught. And when word started making the rounds that Whitey Bulger had been caught, I happened to be sitting with the boss of the Boston family, the Patriarca family. And I'll say his name. His name was Carmine D'Annunzio. And I said, hey, Carmine, I said, Whitey Bulger got caught. Now, mind you, they were both from Boston. Carmine's the head of the Italian family. Whitey Bulger had been the head of the Irish family. And he said, I'd like to put a bullet in his fucking head right now. And I said, yeah, put your 9 against his temple and just pull the trigger. And he looks at me and he says, my 9? I'd use a 22. I said, a 22? That's a lady's gun.
Yeah.
He said, but the 22, because it's such a light gun, rather than going through your head, it just bounces around in there and turns everything to jello. I took his word for it.
He's thought it through.
Oh, he's probably practiced it a number of times.
That's hilarious. By the way, ERF 1954, thank you so much for becoming a monthly supporter of Deprogram.
Thank you.
Let's see. Few other comments. How does this play out with YouTube having 10 times more subscribers than Rumble?
I think that's a Robbie question.
That is a Robbie question. Robbie, put on your pants, and here we go.
Okay, so how does it pay out with Rumble versus YouTube? One, for some reason, YouTube has suspended our super chats, and they have since yesterday. Got a ticket submitted. No reply, no idea why. So that's one thing. YouTube plays games, and Rumble doesn't. Number 2, YouTube has censored both John and Ted in the past. Rumble never has. So for those of you talking about how right-wing Rumble is, it's so right-wing that you have lefties like the 2 gentlemen here to my left, which is convenient because they are to my left, and Jimmy Dore and other people like that who are able to speak freely without being censored. So that's another feather that Rumble has. Lastly, YouTube pays based off of ads and ad clicks. And so if you let an ad run all the way through, they'll get paid maybe 30 to 70 cents per ad. Rumble, on the flip side, though, pays them based off of their watch hours. So it's just like TV and radio. So the more that you watch them, the more that they get paid. The more that they get paid, the more deprogrammed you get to get. So if you want an hour and a half show, watch them on Rumble, and it makes financial sense for them to do that. So there is so to answer your question, that's pretty much it. And the cat.
Well, but that wasn't his question, right? Oh, hello, kitty. Meow meow.
But as far as why Rumble's doing this, it's because
the question is, how does this play out with YouTube having 10 times more subscribers than Rumble? Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's what I was getting at, because people go to platforms because they want to see content creators. Rumble realizes that to get content creators that people want to watch, they got to pay them.
They're like Avis. They try harder.
Yeah, 100%. And so what they do is they incentivize creators to come over to the platform, and they use carrots like be able to get a paycheck and also be able to speak freely to bring those content creators over and eventually build the audience.
Yeah, the money from, sorry to interrupt, Robbie, but the money from on YouTube is, I mean, before I ever got into podcasting, I looked into this and it was like, it's hilariously like ridiculous. Remember Gangnam Style by Psy? Sure. I mean, that guy had 2 billion, probably more than that, but 2 billion views at the time that I looked at this. And I think he made like $100,000 or something. 2 billion views. Could you imagine having 200 spins on terrestrial radio in, say, 1980? I mean, you would have had to keep your money in its own state. Yeah, it's crazy.
But to directly answer that question, it's because Rumble is incentivizing creators to come over to Rumble and to vote. Hopefully, I'm sure eventually the idea is for them to stream exclusively on Rumble. But in order to make that happen, though, you got to make it worth their time. And so the more time that people spend on the platform, that then lets Rumble pitch to investors. Hey, this is how many people are here. This is what the metrics look like. This is how long people are on. And that then will attract more investment. And so that's the market. That's the strategy, is to capture views, and then once you're on Rumble, to keep you there. And as a content creator myself here on Rumble on the Putinbot Gaming channel, I tell you, that's what it is. It's Rumble has politics, it's got music, it's got gaming, it's got it all, and it is a true competitor to YouTube. And if you value free speech, it's really the best game in town.
Thank you, Robbie. Okay, let's get into. Okay, so Ryan Jude says Kimmel doesn't deserve to be canceled for his comments on Charlie Kirk. He deserves to be canceled because he's not funny. Matter of opinion. Ashti FGHY says, how does Kimmel fight back? Can he take it to the Supreme Court? That is an excellent question. I mean, look, this does appear to be a First Amendment case. First Amendment cases are few and far between, because usually when you get censored, it's by a corporation. Here, okay, now, actually, I have advice for Jimmy, and he should call me, and I can put him in touch with my legal team, because when I sued the LA Times, our theory of the case was very similar. I was fired by a private entity, Tronc/Tribune Publishing, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, but it was this was considered a First Amendment case by proxy, because it was the Los Angeles Police Department purchased controlling interest in Tribune Publishing, and the police chief then, who, from that same department, walked over to the publisher at the time at the LA Times and asked him to fire me, actually ordered him to fire me. So it's First Amendment by proxy. I think that would be, Kimmel would have to pursue that, that theory of the case. It's a novel theory, and there's no guarantee that it would work, but I think it's the only, because otherwise they can fire anyone they want, and they're going to claim they have a First Amendment right not to air him.
That's right. It's a tough case, no matter how you look at it.
However, he has deep pockets. If I'm him, I take him and Colbert and I try to do something new somewhere else. I make a big splash by doing some project, like, basically bring your, like the way that what's his name, Marr did after he got fired at ABC.
Yeah, he got fired at ABC, went straight to HBO. He's made millions upon millions of dollars ever since.
His fans followed him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's the way there. Another question, Big Boss Bob Ross, how long till we get Kim Jong-il level of lies? Things like, actually, Trump was the Chicago Bulls' first pick, but he was too busy, so they went to their backup, Michael Jordan, instead. That could happen. We're not far. We're really not far from that.
We're not far, and it scares the daylights out of me. It really does.
What scares me, John, isn't the bullshit coming out of the White House or its allies. It's the total absence of resistance. The fact that the Democratic Party is useless.
Well, look what they did. They wrote this new bill, right? The No Political Enemies Act.
The Nope bill.
Yeah, the Nope. Which is going to be shelved in subcommittee and will never be heard from again.
True.
So it's the equivalent of saying, well, I'm going to write a very strongly worded letter. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember in Team America World Police where it's like Hans Blix is that character? Yes. I will write a very stern letter to the United Nations, and then they'll see.
Exactly.
There's no left, and there's just no one's pissed.
Yeah.
Study France. They do it better than we do. They're not perfect, but they definitely do it better. U.S. XXX A-Rod 21. The Kimmel threats from the administration seem so incredibly short-sighted. Fox News should be shaking in their boots for the next Democratic presidency. You'd think. But, they don't. The Democrats have never really been very good at doing retribution.
Yeah. No, they're not. Oh, and you know what? We missed something very, very important too.
Oh shit!
The day before yesterday, John Thune, the majority leader of the Senate, the Republican senator from South Dakota, initiated the nuclear option. Right. So now, Trump's nominees for any federal office need only 51 votes instead of the 60 to break cloture. The Democrats had used the nuclear option when Harry Reid was the majority leader, but just on federal judges to get Obama's judges approved. And everybody said, this is a terrible idea because the Republicans are going to do the same thing to you, and then you're going to be screwed. So Trump's judges are all.
But remember, John, I'm going to tee it right low and fat over home plate. You remember what the Democrats said. Don't worry, because we will be in power forever. The Republicans will never be in power ever again.
They did say that. They said Texas
the demographics are on our side.
Because Hispanics are automatically Democrats, right? I mean, that's what the Democrats said back in 2009, and that Texas was turning purple. And I remember quite literally, the Democrats saying that there would never be another Republican president ever, and that the Republican Party was about to split and morph into something else.
That the Republicans were going to go the way of the Whigs, never to be seen again.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And exactly.
It's just so insanely short-sighted is exactly the right word here. Yeah, of course, idiots. Road Beef says pretty soon we'll have AI everywhere of Trump partaking in historical events. Trump at Iwo Jima, Trump with Tanya Harding, Trump with General Schwarzkopf. Yeah. Well, I did kind of do that for the segment about the Taliban, where I have Trump, drinking. Two guys who don't drink. The Taliban. Well, the Taliban guy might drink when he goes to Doha or when he goes to or Dubai.
King
those
Fahd,
guys do drink and they whore when they go to Dubai.
Oh yeah, King Fahd, when he came to the White House, he and George H.W. Bush, or no, maybe it was Reagan, toasted each other with wine. And the picture, when the picture was released, it spread like wildfire around Saudi Arabia. And people were genuinely worried that there would be a move against the royal family, because here's a picture released internationally of the king drinking alcohol, the custodian of the two holy mosques drinking alcohol. And then he released a statement saying that it was not wine, it was grape juice, which of course it was not. It was wine.
Yeah, and nobody drinks grape juice voluntarily, ever.
No. I remember when we had an alcohol shipment come in Saudi Arabia when I was stationed there, and the Saudi Ministry of, I guess it was transportation that covered the airport, called the embassy and said that we had to send somebody quickly because our shipment of office furniture was leaking.
I'm sure. I thought you were going to say that it all leaked over into the royal palace. But
people always used to say that they were going to go to the library, right? Oh, I'm going to go to the library. Oh, after work, I have to stop by the library. Finally, I was like, what's this library? I haven't seen any library, but I'd love to go see what they have. Like, no, that's what they call the liquor store that's hidden behind the embassy store, where you can buy, T-shirts and deodorant and whatever. It's like, no, there's a little liquor store hidden in the back.
No, they can't help themselves. They're ridiculous. Hey, so thank you to Selamam for the $10. John, do you still feel a certain way about Jose Rodriguez now, especially since he sent that tweet about you going to prison?
Yeah, I do feel a certain way about Jose Rodriguez.
What tweet is that?
Actually, Jose Rodriguez.
Who is Jose Rodriguez?
He was the he was the director of the CIA's counterterrorist center when I was there. Long time station chief who was constantly getting himself in trouble. He's very handsy in the office and had to be pulled out of several large stations because of his handsiness. But he was such a bloodthirsty killer that he just kept getting promoted over and over. He ended up being deputy director of the CIA for operations. And the reason I feel a certain way, in addition to working for a bloodthirsty sociopath, the night before I went to prison, he tweeted at me and he said, "Don't drop the soap, asshole." And I was very angry, and I gave myself a few hours to cool down. And then I tweeted back at him and I said, "Jose, I am on the right side of history and you are not." And he's not. Now he's just a mean old man who has the blood of thousands and thousands of people on his hands. He lives next door to a man. I don't even want to say his name. A man who was the head of the Special Activities Division, who Vanity Fair magazine says had been a hitman for the Cali cartel before joining the CIA at Jose's insistence. They lived next door to each other in St. Augustine, Florida. So yeah, I feel even more strongly about Jose Rodriguez now than I did 10 years ago.
That totally makes sense. Okay, also we have why does the CIA keep, this is from Selamam, $20, thanks again. Why does the CIA keep mum on old timers like James Angleton? He's a very interesting character. What stories have you heard about him while you were there?
Oh, I got a James Angleton story for you. My first boss.
And who was he?
Oh, yes. James Angleton was the deputy director of the CIA for counterintelligence. He was the mole hunter. And of course, he believed everybody was a mole. So he ruined countless lives of faithful CIA officers while he was there. The reason why he was so paranoid is because his best friend in the world was Kim Philby, who was the head of MI6 and who defected to the Soviet Union and turned out to have been a mole for his entire adult life. He was recruited by the KGB when he was in college at Oxford or Cambridge, So Angleton saw a mole behind every corner. My first boss at the CIA, who's a great friend of mine, told me that his first job at the CIA was as a grad fellow. It was kind of a graduate school internship program. And once you finish school, they offer you a full-time staff job. So his internship was in Angleton's office. And when he first got there on his very first day, the secretary showed him around and said, "You see this wall of files?" And he said it was an entire wall of just manila folders. She said, "Don't ever look in those files. You're not cleared for those files." He said, well, of course, the first time everybody's out to a lunch party or whatever, he runs to the files. He said every single one of those files was on an American. On an American. How many felonies is that? You have 1,000 files? It's 1,000 felonies The CIA is not allowed to spy on Americans, period. It's written in stone. And every one of those files was on an American. He told me he wished he had never seen them.
Yeah, it's not surprising, right? Absolute power corrupts, blah, blah, blah.
When I first got to the CIA, I said to, and the reason he told me that story was, I was so just enthralled by the whole idea. We had these blue badges back then, and you had to wear them all the time. And then there were checkpoints in the building because I had what was called an H compartment, so I could go anywhere. But a lot of people didn't. And so you had to show your badge at each checkpoint. There were just these, retirees just sitting there, badge. And I said to him, it's so cool that, we have these checkpoints, and I just feel like I'm so important. And I wasn't, of course. I was 24, 25 years old. And I said, hey, you were here in the bad old days when Angleton was running the place, weren't you? And he said, oh, yeah, I was. He said, we were afraid of Angleton. If we saw Angleton walking down the hall, we would cut down a different hall. You just don't want to come to Angleton's attention. Yeah.
Sounds like it. God, what a fucked up dude.
He was a bad dude, truly.
One for me from American Sweetheart. Thanks for the $5. My daughter is doing a project on the French Revolution, and I wondered if you have any reading recommendations or documentary recommendations for her. Not documentaries per se, but if you're looking for something contemporaneous, you can't really go wrong with Edmund Burke's book from 1790 or something like that, Reflections on the Revolution in France. I would say also you kind of like the French Revolution, A History by Thomas Carlyle is amazing. It's from the 1830s. But if you want to just read one thing, I think it's still the standard right now is a book that came out in the 80s called Citizens by Simon Schama. And it's extremely detailed. It's very personal. And I don't know, John, any French Revolution thoughts?
I haven't read about the French Revolution since I was in high school. But I know American Sweetheart's daughter, and she's very smart. So she can handle whatever book about the French Revolution.
Start with Citizens. All right. And let's see. Okay, we have a few more. God, they're piling up here. It's just so great. Does anyone else think free and fair elections are officially dead and gone? Also, is a civics and economics exam too much to ask for every voter?
Amen. That's one of my put downs. I just told somebody this yesterday. Ted, you happen to be very near my hometown, and there's a local chain called El Canelo. It was a group of undocumented Mexicans who came to town back in the 90s. They opened this restaurant. It was so wildly popular. The food is so good that they ended up opening like 5 all around the area. One where you are. So,
I should go check it out. I love Mexican food.
Oh, and this is very high quality, very cheap, inexpensive Mexican food. So
say it again, El Canelo?
El Canelo, Canelo.
Okay.
So
all right, I'm there.
I still read the hometown paper, the Newcastle News, and in the chat, it was a chat about an article about a new Mexican restaurant that's opening in town, and somebody said, "Oh, I've been going to El Canelo for years. The food is so great, but one of the servers told me that the servers don't get to keep the tips. The tips go to the owner." And so somebody wrote, "That's socialism for you." And
that's not socialism. That's fucking feudalism is what it is.
I said, actually, that's capitalism. Socialism would be if the workers owned the restaurant.
Correct. And split it all.
I seriously recommend a 6th grade civics class for you. And then people jumped on me being an asshole.
Strongly. Well, obviously unfortunately, we have the history of the poll tax where like black voters were, asked to list all the constitutional amendments to every state constitution in reverse alphabetical order. And, obviously they were asked questions that they couldn't possibly answer. So that's the problem in a way with these kind of tests. But I gotta say, I don't think you should be able to vote if, for example, you don't know what your state capital is.
Totally.
And most people don't, If you're stupid, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Sorry. I mean, it's like, look, I don't know anything about sports, right? Should I be allowed to vote for who gets the Heisman Trophy? Fuck no, right? Should I judge, musical theater in the when the Tonys are being given out? No, because I don't ever go see it. I don't know anything about it, right? So similarly, why should only in politics is everyone entitled to their opinion, even if they're a fucking moron and don't know anything?
It's true. It's true. I have a cousin, and I love her dearly. I really do. But we were talking about politics, and she didn't know what the heck she was talking about. And I said, let me ask you, do you know who your congressman is? She goes, yes, I know who my congressman is. I said, who? Who's your congressman? She goes, Booty Judge. I said, no, it's not fucking Booty Judge. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, I hate it when people don't know the very basics of the government that
most people don't know who the vice president is at any given time. By the way, are free and fair elections dead and gone? I would argue that I would rather get a democracy more than free and fair elections. I mean, two-party system isn't a democracy when you have 330 million people. The country's too diverse for two parties, even if they were both great parties, and they ain't. I just would rather see that reform first. John, I got to say, this is really thrilling. Over on the Rumble feed, we are on the splash page.
Hey.
On page 1, we're right next to OAN and Fox News.
Oh, you guys, thank you so much.
And
you are kidding me.
No, we're right, we're like at the very top. Thank you, Rumble. Thank you everyone for supporting us. I mean, so yeah, huge shout out to the Rumble crew. Thank you so much. Jacob Brucken wants to know, what are your thoughts on the murder of Charlie Kirk potentially setting a precedent of normalizing the killing of those who say things we don't like, social effects beyond mere polarization? Well, obviously that's what everyone's afraid of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen that way. I mean, first of all, it has happened before. Obviously, people have been killed over their opinions many, many times. But, I got to tell you, John, what I'm more worried about is the next time I get an invitation to speak in public, I'm going to be scared to say yes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think there's going to be a lot of people who might just say either I can't do it at all, or maybe I'll do it in a limited way, only with security. The days of being able to walk into a college, green, like where Kirk was killed, and just walk up there, hey, what's going on? Oh, there's this right-wing guy talking. Oh, let's find out what's up. I mean, that's what I'm worried is going away. I don't think we're all going to start dropping, pundits are going to start dropping like flies.
No, I agree with you. People aren't going to speak. I'm in Chicago to speak tonight. And it's a totally vanilla thing. It's a bunch of people are getting independent journalism awards, and I'm going to introduce the big winner of the night, nice. Robert Shearer. And we all got an email yesterday saying, don't worry, they have security in place. They have metal detectors at the entrances. And I was like, in a private club, this is in the University Club of Chicago. They're even worried.
Oh, yeah. I've been there. That's a great place.
Yeah, it's a good place. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say something too. The Senate just moments ago, because the Republicans launched the nuclear option, the Senate moments ago confirmed 48 of Donald Trump's nominees in a single vote. It was a party line vote, 51-47.
Can they do that?
Yes, sir, they can.
They don't have to a la carte them?
Nope. That's why they did the nuclear option, because the Senate rules say that they have to a la carte them if they can't get 60 votes.
So there's no debate?
No debate.
Advice and consent function is completely out the window.
Done. And
it's a rubber stamp. You might as well just have the Enabling Act like Hitler did in 1934.
Might as well. The 48 include Kimberly Guilfoyle as ambassador to Greece, former Representative Brandon Williams as Undersecretary of Energy for Nuclear Security, about which he knows literally nothing. Fox News, no, I already did that. And Callista Gingrich, The concubine
Daughter.
and third wife
Oh.
of Newt Gingrich,
Wife.
now ambassador to both Switzerland and Liechtenstein.
Concubine. Yeah, she's like, is she the daughter? Is she the wife? Maybe both.
And the nerve, you know what she was last time Trump was president? She was ambassador to the Vatican because they're so Catholic.
That's obscene, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's offensive.
And the Vatican, does another country have the right to reject our ambassador?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So
it
they should have. The Vatican should have been like, yeah, no. Astro says, what about Trump naming Antifa as a domestic terror organization? Are we going to see the military bombing speedboats in the U.S. now? I mean, has that happened? He hasn't done it yet, right?
He was supposed to do it today. The reason I say I love it is because it is such a stupid thing to do, so foolish, because Antifa doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa. Yeah.
It's an idea. You can't ban an idea.
It's retarded. Although, and the danger of, obviously, it's so ephemeral. I mean, seriously, he could say, well, Ted's, and also think about what Antifa stands for. So you're banning anti-fascism.
Right. Tell that to the guys at D-Day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were Antifa all the way. The people who liberated the camps, Antifa.
That's right.
So, I mean, if you're anti-Antifa, you're FA, right? I mean,
that's right, exactly.
By definition. This is for you. Did you work with Larry Johnson? It's not for me. I didn't work with Larry Johnson.
I worked with Larry Johnson. I actually like Larry. He's a good guy. I don't agree with his analysis all the time. He's like crazy pro-Russian. I like to think that I'm a middle-of-the-road guy. It's funny to me, too, because with my other podcast, Deep Focus, I take shit in the same chat from people who say that I'm too pro-Russian and people who say that I'm too pro-Ukrainian.
Well, I mean, I guess there are people who would view that as a positive thing, although I don't know, whatever. You think what you think. And
I told my best friend the other day, I said, just between you and me, I told him, I really don't give a shit about Ukraine. I really don't. My whole life was spent either in the Middle East or working on the Middle East or studying the Middle East, or I care about the Middle East. I said, Ukraine. I remember when Brian Becker and I had our show on Sputnik, anytime we interviewed anybody about Ukraine, Brian did the interview because I didn't know the first thing about Ukraine, nor did I have any desire to learn.
So I care a little more than you do, maybe, but I got to tell you, here's my thing. You and I both grew up during the Cold War, and I will freely admit I'm a creature of spheres of influence. I still believe in spheres of influence. And as far as I'm concerned, Ukraine is in Russia's sphere of influence, fair and square, whether anyone likes it, least of all the Ukrainians, or not. It just is. I mean, it's reality. Mexico is in the U.S. sphere of influence. They're not allowed to go rogue and become like a Chinese ally. Like, we're not going to let that happen. Democrat, Republican, President Kiriakou, President Rall, no one's going to let that happen. And so I think with the Russians, it's the same thing. It's like, Ukrainians, you thought you were like all completely independent. You could make friends with anyone you want. No, you can't. You were in the Soviet Union. Like, no. So I think the Ukrainians are retards. And so that's kind of my general take. And like, they're retards, and then they fucked around and found out. That said, they shouldn't have had to find out, and the Russians shouldn't have done it. But on the other hand, you can't be surprised, and that's kind of like where I am.
No, that's exactly right. Hey, we've got a question on Rumble from Manya, or not a question, a comment that I think is important. The solution is to remove the revolving door between corporations and the government, so there is no conflict of interest. When I was working at Deloitte and Touche, Ted, I had occasion to go meet with this partner in the federal practice, and he had all these very impressive formal certificates framed and hanging around his office, and they were all just the same certificate. And what it was him being appointed by 3 different presidents to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And then what did he do? at the end of each administration, he went back to Deloitte, where he was the partner in charge of winning business at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
I
Every
hate this.
time. Yep.
Now, it seems to me that we might actually arrive at I can foresee a political configuration in Congress that might be able to get something through that might put a dent into this revolving door. I mean, because there's a lot of members of Congress who serve for a long time. And there's a lot of members of the Senate who serve for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, so they're not really personally vested in going to, to cash in on their knowledge that they got in government. And we need regulations here. I mean, I think if you worked in certain, like, let's say you worked at the EPA, you shouldn't be able to go work for Monsanto like right away. Maybe, you have to wait 5 years, 10 years.
Yes.
And that way you can't go to there and say, oh, by the way, they're looking to regulate this and that. And like, this is how they're planning to fuck you.
Yep.
Their knowledge should be out of date and therefore not as valuable. I could see it. I mean,
totally
this is it's a Hail Mary pass, but I could see maybe Congress doing something about it in the future. Charismatic, thanks for the $10. Max Blumenthal's sources inside the White House say that Trump feared Netanyahu and Israel even before his 2 assassination attempts. Do we think the president fears for his life? From Netanyahu, yes. I guess.
I will tell you that when I last saw Tucker Carlson, he told me that he had just come back from a meeting with the president. He said that the president was actively, vocally fearful that somebody was going to kill him. Yeah.
I mean, look, given the fact that we've had 4 presidents assassinated in our history and, numerous attempts, right? This president has suffered several very close calls. One really close call right here where I am in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
It's like, it's very, yeah, I mean, you have to be scared. I just don't know. God, I mean, it would be such an act of war if the Israelis ever tried to take out a president of the United States. I mean, I can't even imagine. What's the solution? Adam Fighter wants to know, to people being scared to speak at events now. There's no solution. I mean, there is no solution. I mean, how can you not be scared? I mean, security helps. You do feel better if, everybody's gotten screened and there seems to be competent security. But the truth is, if someone wants to kill you at an event, they can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Let's see what else we got here. John, have you seen the Mutual Defense Pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan? Well, we talked about that yesterday. That's Adam Fighter. Middle East question. Someone said, this is from Paris S., that Beirut harbor is a nest of smuggling, agents, gangs, etc., like from a spy movie. Is this correct?
It used to be. Yeah, it used to be. That began to change in the 1980s. And now nobody really cares about Beirut anymore. Beirut used to be, with this gigantic American embassy and gigantic Soviet embassy, and then the Israelis, having fully infiltrated the Lebanese government from top to bottom. It was a tough gig. And remember that for much of the 1970s into the beginning of the Reagan administration, that's where the PLO was headquartered until the Israelis attacked and forced them all literally onto a boat to save themselves. It was, what was his name? He was Reagan's Middle East peace envoy, Philip Habib. Habib.
Yeah. There's a name from a blast from the past.
Yeah. Negotiated free passage for the PLO and all of their dependents onto this boat, and the boat went to Tunis. And so the PLO is based in Tunis for years, actually until Oslo. They were allowed to go to the West Bank after Oslo. So yeah, Beirut used to be kind of like Vienna in the respect that it was like the Wild West, anything goes. And now it's a poor, half destroyed afterthought.
That's sort of like, and this is a good segue to Afghanistan. I remember reading about, I had to cross from Afghanistan into Iran via Zaranj. And I remember reading up on it, and someone had said, Zaranj is like the old 5 Points section of New York City, the gangs of New York area. And they used to say, like, if you fired shots in every direction, you'd never hit an honest man. And Zaranj was like that. Everyone's a fucking smuggler, drugs, money, guns, you name it. And it's like everything from nails to nukes. And it is true. It was like the bar scene in Star Wars, just a bunch of like,
yeah.
But we should talk about Bagram. So, John, have you ever been to Bagram?
Yeah, many times. In fact, the last time I was there, it was with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Flew into Kabul, and then there was a helicopter waiting that took me to Bagram. We should talk about. So Bagram Air Base was built by the Soviet Union during the 1980s Soviet occupation and war against the Mujahideen. I think it might predate that, right? It predated it. The British were the ones that started it.
Oh, really?
The Soviets expanded it. It's gigantic. It's like a city. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's sort of like stands out in the middle of nowhere. It's not like in a city. It's like you have to drive out from Kabul to get there.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the desert. Mm-hmm. And at night, you can see hundreds of desert foxes. You can see their eyes glowing in the desert.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, hundreds of them. They come out of their burrows as soon as the sun goes down. By the
way, John, your hobby of astronomical photography in Afghanistan would be amazing.
That would be really great.
Yeah, and clear too. Not many clouds.
That's right. Or humidity.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's something we should consider a trip. So speaking of which, going to Afghanistan might become a lot easier. So Bagram Air Base was the main HQ for the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan during the 20-year U.S. occupation from 2001 to 2021. Every province had its base, and every NATO ally was assigned one. The U.S. was, of course, the big swinging dick in the NATO coalition, so they got Bagram. So I remember there was a town, Chogshuran, in Gore province. That went to Lithuania, kind of like the ugly, redheaded stepchild of the NATO alliance. So I think the Brits got Mazar-i Sharif, if memory serves, which was like the second best city in Afghanistan.
It's a pretty great place.
And so, basically, so now, I guess we have this news that Trump's been conducting secret negotiations with the Taliban. Basically, he's vague about it, but he's like, "We want it back. We want it back. It's so close to Chinese nuclear facilities."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure really if it's as strategic as he says, but all right. But the point is, let's take him at his. So let's go through that. Why would he want it back? Why does he care so much? And what would the Taliban be able to extract from him to get it back? Obviously, they want full normalization, but he's not going to give them that.
No. He wants it back because he wants to rub Joe Biden's face in it, right? He still is talking about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, that it was a humiliation. It was all Joe Biden's fault. People died. Our troops died unnecessarily. It was 13 guys died. It's something like that. People were falling from the wheel of the plane as they were trying to hold onto the plane while it was taken off. Bad scene, akin to Saigon 1975. So that's one of the reasons why he wants it, to just rub Joe Biden's face in it. Number two, it is one of the largest air bases in the world. And not only did we update it and make it nice, we built 2 state-of-the-art prisons there. Now, I don't know what he's going to do with those, but there are 2 state-of-the-art prisons there. I've toured them. And then the Chinese thing, I think, is kind of silly, because we have bases in Pakistan, in Baluchistan. Jason Leopold, the journalist,
which is closer.
It's closer. Jason Leopold, the journalist from Bloomberg, was the one that broke the story that our our South Asian drone base, which is supposed to be so top secret, is in Baluchistan. And the way he did that was he filed Freedom of Information Act requests for all documents pertaining to fuel sales. And it was a certain kind of fuel that's only used in drones. And so you got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages showing drone fuel delivery to Baluchistan, to this base that nobody knew existed. So he broke that story. But yeah, I think deep down, I think Donald Trump is an imperialist, just like every American president is, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. And it's embarrassing not to have any presence, and he wants the base back. Now, in exchange, I think that he would probably agree to a charge d'affaires, not an ambassador, something at a lower diplomatic level, maybe a little bit of food aid. And then very quietly today, it was barely reported in the media, we agreed to exchange prisoners with the Taliban. I didn't know we still had prisoners in Afghanistan. But there's this prisoner exchange going on. So
yeah, I mean, that must have been really fun for the Americans who are stuck there.
Can you imagine?
Good times in Afghanistan. John, I don't think much is going to come of this deal because, I mean, for the Taliban to, I mean, can you imagine the domestic politics for the Talibs to have to say, okay, the American dogs, the former occupiers who were constantly, celebrating their departure every August, we're going to let them back into their main HQ, and we didn't even get much out of it. I mean, they would need a lot. I think they would need massive food aid. They would need to be completely brought back into the international fold. The U.S. cannot and will not give that to them, so I think the deal is going to fall apart.
I think you are exactly right. Yeah, they are going to want the moon and the stars from Trump, and
they kind of need it, and they need it for domestic consumption.
Yeah, that's right.
Stella Mom, $10. Thanks so much. How do we feel about Eric Adams meeting with Bibi and Mamdani saying he's going to arrest him if and when Bibi comes to New York as mayor? Well, I love me my Mamdani right now. He's right. I mean, there's a warrant for him. He should be arrested and turned over to the authorities, and he should face accountability in The Hague. That's where he belongs, in the docket, just like Slobodan Milosevic. That's where he belongs. So Eric Adams meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, just another pathetic clown-like move by just a worm with 9% approval rating, hated and reviled by all New Yorkers.
Yeah.
That's my take.
I think you're exactly right.
Question for you from Mr. Athenian.
Okay.
Could you please make a quick comment about the French secret services? Are they as good as the rumors say? Are they hostile to the U.S.? Are they frenemies, or are they a real ally?
Oh, those are great questions. I can tell you a couple of funny stories about the French. Well, first of all, it's not funny, but the French are very, very happy to just go out and kill people. They make no bones about it, and they hate Greenpeace more than they hate any, national player, state player. They're perfectly happy just to go out.
Yeah, they attacked Greenpeace. They bombed Greenpeace's ship in New Zealand, right?
They did, and they mean business. I was once ordered to work with the French on a case. It was so funny. It didn't work out at all. Because I called the French intelligence officer. I was overseas, of course, and I said, "Hey, I've been assigned to work with you on this joint case." He's like, "Okay, let's meet." I said, "Okay, great." I said, "There's a terrific restaurant, downtown." No, meet me at the corner of Maple and Elm. And I'm thinking, what? There's no restaurant there. So I'm standing there like an idiot. He comes around this corner, screeches to a halt, motions for me to jump into his car, which is spycraft, right? So I very leisurely opened the door and I said, "You are not recruiting me, and I am not working for you. Let's go to a restaurant. I'm not going to fucking do this like we're in a James Bond movie." He was so mad, but I wouldn't even talk to him until we went to a restaurant. It's like, no. You're not going to do your trade craft on me. And then it all just fell apart. Anyway, They're good. It's a good service. It really is. They tend to get bogged down in Africa. And
You can see why.
Yeah. But they're good. They're not trusting. It's not in their nature to be trusting, and so they don't have the kind of relationship with other countries that we have with the Five Eyes, for example. I went to Djibouti when I was with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I was meeting with people at the Foreign Ministry, and then I got a message that the head of the Djiboutian intelligence service wanted to see me. So I went to the Djibouti intelligence service, which was like above a grocery store. And it wasn't a grocery store; it was a bar. It was above a bar. I was embarrassed for them, and all he wanted to talk about was how much he hated the French. Like, I got nothing out of it. I thought it's the head of the service. I'm going to be able to say in my report, this, that, and terrorism. And no, he just wanted to bitch about the French for an hour, and then I just said, "Nice to meet you." There's one thing that a French officer told me once that was really, really impressive. And I apologize if I'm going a little too long. They were surveilling an Iranian nuclear scientist one time who had gone to Paris for a seminar. And this scientist had been trained in counter surveillance. And so he kept, looking around, like pretending to stretch, just looking behind him to see if anybody's following him. He would go up to store windows and pretend to be window shopping, but really looking at the reflection to see if there's anybody behind him following him. But the French said they were totally ready for that. And so they put 70 officers on him, and every one of the 70 was walking toward him. So the whole time he's like this, never noticed a single one of the 70 officers walking toward him and then breaking off, going around the block, and then walking toward him again. And they were able to arrest the guy that he was there to meet clandestinely.
Well,
impressive.
The French, the French think out of the box. Hey, we've got an ad ready to level up your game. AIM controllers is where custom meets unbeatable value, and right now it's the best deal of the year. We start with official Sony and Xbox controllers, fully compatible with console and PC, no functionality lost. Then you go wild with custom features, smart bumpers, paddles, grips, stick height, custom buttons, even design your own PS5 snap panels. And here's the part no one else is doing: lifetime warranty on all modified parts. That's right, lifetime. What other company does that? Exactly. Normally, a fully loaded setup could run you $400, but during our one-price promo, it's just $209 or 182 euros, no matter how many features you add. Use code Rumble at checkout and lock it in. This is your sign. Go to aimcontrollers.com and build the last controller you'll ever need. We have a big question that we could probably spend like years answering. Diana wants to know, could there ever truly be peace in the Middle East? Like if someone snapped their fingers and Israel disappeared and everyone forgot about it, could there ever truly be peace in the Middle East?
Only without an Israel.
I think so too. I mean, I guess would the Sunni Shia divide then become the dominant issue?
Yeah, but that has eased vastly over the last couple of decades. I remember when I was still at the CIA, for the very first time, we started getting intelligence that the Iranians were supporting Hamas. And universally, every one of us said, can't be true. Can't possibly be true. Iran is Shia, Hamas is Sunnis. They hate each other so much that it's not possible for the Iranians to support them. And we were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We were wrong.
Well,
yeah. So the Sunni-Shia split, I mean, for hundreds and hundreds of years, it was, a thing, an important thing. It's just not anymore.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, I do think that we could get, I think you never get world peace, right? World peace is just not a thing because human beings are mean and violent and greedy and voracious. But I think you can certainly get greatly reduced violence, right?
Yeah.
Israel is by far the biggest destabilizing force in the Middle East.
100%.
Man, they're a rabid fucking dog.
Yeah, it's not.
And I
good.
keep wondering how long it's going to take Donald Trump to wise up. I don't know if he ever will. Probably won't. But I feel like he might. It's possible.
I sure as heck hope so. I sure as heck hope so. I will say that, just when you think Donald Trump is finally going to stand up, he doesn't. He doesn't stand up. He just buckles to
No, he
Netanyahu.
doesn't.
And then the excuse that you hear from inside the White House is like, well, the reason why we bombed Iran was because Netanyahu was going to use nukes. So it's only because we bombed Iran that Netanyahu didn't use nuclear weapons. Okay, well, maybe that's true. Maybe that's a bluff, which is something that Netanyahu has always been very good at.
John, we've got a little bit of breaking news, and then we should probably pronounce ourselves deprogrammed for the day. First of all, there has been a massive earthquake off the coast of Russia. 7.8 magnitude hits Russia, probably in the same spot. We now have a major tsunami advisory in effect for the Northern Pacific entirely, as well as Alaska in general. But obviously, not that many people live in Alaska, but still, these are Americans. We're concerned about them. And the New York Times is reporting that 11 Democratic officials have been arrested after they went to an ICE detention facility asking to conduct oversight and to get in and see it. And they were denied entry. This is loading up really slow on my hotel Wi-Fi, but I'm guessing this happened in New York. But anyway, yes. So, I mean, this is not the first time this has happened. And they went to Newark and tried to do the same thing. And I mean, they're elected representatives. They want to see a federal facility. And they should be able to get in there, right?
And they are the government overseers. They should have access.
They have every right.
Yeah. When I was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, we were the overseers for the State Department. And all I had to do was pick up the phone and say, I want to come over and talk to so-and-so. I want to go over and see this thing. I want to go to Afghanistan and see what's going on at Bagram. And they huffed and puffed, but they always gave in because we were the overseers. So yeah, this is just
it was New York City. It was at the main office downtown at Federal Plaza by the police main headquarters. There's been some really disturbing reports that have come out of there, including some deaths in custody of detainees who apparently one lady collapsed. She was foaming at the mouth because the ICE people didn't give her any water at all. She was completely dehydrated.
Oh my God. So
yeah, it's pretty disgusting. And I think we probably need to go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we'll be back tomorrow. So we are here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. for Deprogram with Ted Rall and me. Ted Rall and me. I'm Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. And anyway, please like, follow, and share the show. Thank you to producer Robbie West, as always. Go check out Putinbot Gaming. That is his gaming channel. He's good at it. If you're into gaming, go check it out. If you're not into gaming, go and check it out. And thanks, everyone. And we will see you guys mañana. And I'm going to go check out some Pennsylvania Mexican food.